Good evening. Melissa Johnson here. Sorry, I don't have my headphones on. Melissa Johnson here for episode 96 of Melissa Loves to Talk. Today is September, July 10th, 2026. I'm a little bit off because it's been a couple weeks. We moved. If you didn't notice, I have a new background because it's a new location, and I just got my flag, my 250 flag, and this is the first time everyone's getting ready to see it, can see it. But I have been in the middle of moving and all that. So today I am going to just talk about some stuff that's went on in the last couple weeks, personal stuff and some new stuff. So personally, like I said, we moved and the location is like I have a little bit more space for my podcast area. It's still in my living room, but there's a little bit more space. If anybody watched me before we moved, I was in my bedroom to have a little bit more privacy. But now we're going to try the living room again. If it has to end up back in my room, that's fine. Again, I have a very small setup, so not a big deal. But so again, we moved because we needed a little bit more space. My daughter finally moved with us, and so we needed a room for her. She was living in the living room, so that wasn't a very good situation. And now she has her own room, so that worked out good. So that's that much changed. I hate that I missed doing this for 2 weeks because there was a fabulous holiday, the 250, that I didn't get to report on or talk about or anything, which was hardening for myself because it is my favorite holiday. So I didn't get to really talk about it, but I'm going to kind of talk about it today, not go into that much of, detail because it already happened. So it's not as exciting as if I would have been here the day of or the day after. It's been, almost a week. So it's kind of dumb to really spend a whole episode talking. But so July 4th, what we did was Friday, they had fireworks and they had like a whole bunch of concessions, and they had some stuff for the kids, some bouncy house things, and some water slides and all this stuff. I guess it's about 15-20 minutes from my house. We did that on Friday, and they had a singer who I had not heard of, but I enjoyed him. He was country because where we live, that's pretty much what everybody sings here, country music. So he was country, but he did sing a little bit of rock, but to me it just sounded country because he was super country. But he sang a lot of songs I knew, which was good. So it was fun. And then the fireworks were okay. I don't think they were that great. I was expecting a little bit more since it was 250, but it was still fireworks. And then on Saturday, we didn't really do a lot during the day. Saturday night, we went and saw some fireworks, which were about 5-7 minutes from my house. We couldn't see them perfectly. There was a lot of trees, but it was very fascinating that the neighbors had better fireworks than than the park that was actually throwing the firework display. There was lots of neighbors having fireworks at the same time. Well, at first they were doing it before the park started. and they were really good fireworks. So we were watching them, and then the park started shooting them off, and so they were kind of going all at the same time. So there was like fireworks pretty much everywhere. And I don't know. We never went to that location before, so I don't know if it was something that always occurred or if it was something because of 250. I'm not really sure. Like I said, it was not a spot that we usually go to. It was something different. My daughter's boyfriend actually said to go there. He grew up in the area, so he knows a little bit of stuff that I didn't know, even though we've lived here for 14 years. I don't know a lot of stuff still. But he grew up here, so he gave us a cool spot. Like I said, it was a lot of fireworks going off at the same time. So you could look straight, you could look side to the left, to the right. They were pretty much everywhere. So that was pretty fun. And then Sunday is when we had our cookout. Just because that's kind of worked out that way. And we just had a cookout and hung out, and that's pretty much all. I hated the timing that we had to move because I feel like that's why I didn't really want to do a whole bunch of things that I would have normally done because of it being 250. But it worked out. It's fine. This is what I find interesting. That how people talk about our president is absurd because they say, you know, he's incompetent, blah, 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 blah. Okay, he had a speech at midnight. I don't know a president that would be up at midnight giving a speech. If you remember when it was the election, he was up 3:30 a.m. giving a speech. I stayed up the whole time because of what happened in 2020. I literally didn't go to bed till after his speech because I was afraid to go to sleep and wake up and it be 2020 all over again. So I stayed up pretty much till 5 a.m. or whatever, whenever he stopped speaking. So I just thought it was crazy that he was up till midnight and talking about how great our country is. And then the fireworks that they had, of course, were absurd. I would have loved to see them live. But it's a 9-hour drive and I wasn't doing that. So that's pretty much how the 4th was. So what's going on now is, if you haven't heard, I don't know if you live under a rock, but this week was the preliminary trial for Tyler Robinson, who has been accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk. And it's just been pretty crazy. There was a time when I wasn't sure if I thought he did it. But the evidence is pretty, I mean, you know, it's a lot of evidence saying he did it. Of course, we don't even have all the evidence because, of course, there's evidence that they're not going to show because they want to save it. Number one, if it goes to trial, they have to have a jury. I have no idea how they're going to pick a jury that's going to be partial because at this point, I can't imagine anyone that has no idea what's going on. I mean, even in another country, most people have an idea what's going on. Now, they may be able to use my husband as a jury member because he doesn't follow all the stuff. But other than that, I don't know people that have no idea what's going on. So I have no idea how they're going to pick a jury. I myself think he's probably going to take a plea deal just because he, you know, people are saying he most likely will get death if he's found guilty. Now, my perspective would be either way, he's going to be in jail for a long time. Death row is years and years and years. So it really wouldn't matter either way he went. My own thoughts is he would probably not get the death penalty even if found guilty because if one person has reasonable doubt, he will not get the death penalty. So it just depends on what he feels that he wants to do at the end of, the whole process of what are we going to trial, which September 1st will be when they decide that. They have 6 weeks to get all the information from the evidence together. September 1st, they'll come together and they'll decide on whether he wants to take a plea deal or he's going to go to trial, which then they will start the process of finding the jury. Again, I have no idea who they're going to pick for the jury that can be impartial. Because of so many things that have came out in the last 10 months. It's just been crazy, all the things that have come out, all the streamers, all the people that have just said so many things about what happened, what they think, blah, 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 blah. So I feel like it's going to be very hard to pick a jury. Again, I'm not a jury selector. I don't know the whole process. I've never even had jury selection. So I don't know. What I know is they usually ask you, can you be impartial? Do you know the person? Personally, none of us know the person, right? So we could say, yes, we don't know Tyler Robinson. But all of us have some kind of relationship when Charlie was alive. What kind of relationship? Doesn't mean we knew him personally, but we all knew him in some form from watching his videos, going to the campus, going to the conferences, whatever. I've been to a couple of his conferences. I've sat in his classes that he does, that he did. So I probably could not be impartial myself. I would try to do my best, but it is hard if you had some kind of interaction with the person. Normally, it would be someone you never knew, you never heard of. Like my son was picked for jury. It was somebody he had never heard of. He had no idea who the person was. And that's usually how it would be. So I have no idea how it's going to go. I don't pretend to know. I just know I heard a lot of the evidence, and say he didn't do it is pretty crazy to think he didn't do it. Now, my own opinion, this is my opinion. I don't think he worked alone per se. I don't think somebody hired him. I don't think that. I just think that he didn't plan it all by himself, even though right now it looks like he did. I don't think he planned it all by himself. But again, I don't believe someone, made him the fall guy or, paid him or anything like that. I think it was just planned. They all decided, let's do this. Again, I don't know. You have to first, say there's a crime, find him guilty, then you go on to where they're conspirators, where there are other people, co-conspirators, were other people involved. But you have to find him guilty first. So that goes into the whole, second part. People, want to push the Constitution when it benefits them, but everyone has the same rights. So yes, people feel like, why is this taking forever? Well, because this is the constitutional way to process. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty, and there's a process to find guilt. If it was you that was being charged with murder, you'd want your due process. So you have to look at it that way. I will say that today when somebody that I was watching was talking about being in the courtroom and with the parents of Tyler Robinson. My heart was broken for the parents. And people can say, you know, they were saying F the parents, blah, blah, blah in the chat. And it's like, you can't help the way your kids turn out when you raise them in a Christian home to have Christian values. Once they leave the home, you can't know how they're going to act. You can't know how they're going to turn out. You can do your very best. And they have to be devastated knowing that they grew up, they raised him in a conservative home. I'm pretty sure they were Christian. You know, they didn't raise him to be that way. So I would imagine that they are devastated that this is happening. So I am going to continue to pray for all the people involved, not just, yes, of course, Charlie's parents and his sister and his wonderful wife and his children, but also Tyler Robinson, his family, because all these lives are now changed forever because of this situation. So I would hope if you claim to be a Christian that you would feel that way and not be like, F them, they're awful, they deserve this, blah, 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 blah. That's not what Jesus would say. That is not how he would feel about the situation. So that's my 2 cents on it. Again, I'm not a professional anything. I'm just giving you my opinion on all of it, what I think about it. And that's my sense on that. I'm just trying to go through all the things that's happened in the last couple weeks. Let's see. There was, okay, this is going to be good. This is more about political stuff. So we had a situation where there was a pastor. He went to a pride event and he was told that he didn't have a right to be there to preach about Jesus because it was going to offend people. I'm trying to see where it says in the Constitution that your First Amendment right doesn't get applied when you offend someone. I don't remember that being in the Constitution. They were going to arrest him, which is literally what the First Amendment is for. You cannot be arrested when exercising your First Amendment right. So that was interesting. It was 2 different police that literally told him that if he didn't leave, he was going to be arrested. Okay. He was not being violent. He was not being hateful. He just wanted to tell them about Jesus. That's all. So his freedom of speech, his freedom of religion did not matter because he was not there to support Pride. So please, please remember this in November. No matter how much you don't like what our horrible Congress is doing right now, what our wonderful president is doing right now, our rights are on the line right now. Because if we lose the Senate and the House, every city and state is going to be doing all those things. Because you have to remember, we lose the House and the Senate, our president gets impeached, and the whole cabinet. So then we will have a Democrat as a president. Because whoever the Speaker of the House will be president once President Trump and J.D. Vance get impeached. So just remember that. I don't think people think of that. You don't think of the implications of what happens if we lose the House and the Senate. I get we're not seeing all the things we want to see, but we are stopping communism by having the majority. Once we don't have the majority, here comes communism. Look at New York City. Look at New Jersey. Look at Virginia. Look at California. California is literally trying to make 2 Muslim holidays state holidays that will close the state down. 2 Muslim holidays. The Supreme Court right now is talking about taking our ARs. They're not going to stop there if they decide that we are not allowed to have ARs. So how you vote in November matters. Please, please think about everything. Like, yes, we're not getting all the things we want, but we're not living in a communist country. All the people that are running in the Democratic Party are communist. Just look at what they did to Graham Plattner. He won his primary. 72% of the Democrats voted for him. So he won his primary, and they made him resign. And now they're going to just appoint someone to be the Democratic nominee. That is not we the people. That is not how it works here. You get to vote for your candidates. They don't just appoint them. They did that with Kamala because they didn't think they could win with Joe, so they got Kamala. They didn't think they could win with Bernie, so they put in Hillary. They did the exact same thing. 2 other times, now 3 times. They don't think they can win. Who cares what the people want? We know better. This is communism. This is not a constitutional republic. So remember that in November. I know we are upset about the way things are going, but I will tell you that the deportations have been ramped up. Mark Wayne Mullins, he is ramping them up. Now, not as many as we like, but double what they were. We have to get more ICE agents. We have to get more judges. Remember, Trump fired some of the immigration judges because they were crooked. They were letting people out. They weren't deporting people. So now they have to get more judges. But 3,200 a week is better than 100, 200, 300 a week. So there are good things happening. Again, not as fast as we want because there's a process. We have laws to protect people. So unfortunately, we think everything can be law and order, and in 5 minutes, you're convicted and you're in jail. That's not how law really works in real life. So this is where we are. But they are ramping up the deportations. They are arresting people for fraud. A lot of people have been found guilty in Minnesota for the fraud. So things are happening. You have to vote Republican in November to keep things going. If we lose the House or the Senate or both, we're screwed. Nothing will be getting done except for court, all our tax dollars being wasted. So that's my 2 cents about it. And that's pretty much all I have for today. I just wanted to get on here and say, hey, I missed everyone, and just touch some things that's happened in the last couple weeks. Tomorrow I'll be on. I'll have, something different. Tomorrow is Serve Day, so I might talk about that. We'll see. And then I'll be on Sunday. Monday, I may try to do all week because next week we will be out of town. So I may try to get on here all week to catch up since I've missed 2 weeks. But we'll see. Because if it's not a lot to talk about, it's no sense for me to get on here. But I thank you so much for watching. Please like and share. Please, 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 please pray for the Kirk family. Pray for the Robinson family. These families have been changed forever. So please pray for them, and just pray for our president, because everybody in the world is out to get him. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great evening. Be safe, and hope to see you tomorrow.